All right, y'all. So this is going to be part 1 of 2 videos of the Winter Wonderland and tree video. I did not intend for this to be part 1 and part 2. I intended for it to be a whole video, but after 75 minutes, I'm like, yeah, let's go ahead and make 2 different videos, part 1 and part 2. So part 1 is actually like the Winter Wonderland part, and that's where I show you how to do like the Winter Wonderland theme, and then part 2 is going to be like the trees. So while you're watching this, if I mention later on I'm going to be doing this, that means later on in part 2. So I did intend for this to be one whole video. So when I say later on, it's going to be part 2. And then in part 2, when I mention I did something before, that basically means part 1. So this is going to be part 1 of 2 of making the Winter Wonderland and trees and the trees that I make. So there's 2 different parts, but the 2 different parts are like different, as in one is a winter theme, and then the second part, which is the trees, is going to be like a summer spring tree. And then I also tell you how to do fall trees as well. So be sure to watch part 1, and then be sure to watch part 2 if you want to know how to do the summer, spring, and the fall trees. So also at the end of this video, I will go ahead and link that video at the end of this video, and I'll also put it in my description box for easy access to that video. All right, y'all. So if you have not watched my video of the Victoria Dollhouse Farmhouse Part 8, then I highly recommend you watch that so that you can see how I made the templates for the front yard when I did the summer/spring yard for the Victoria Dollhouse Farmhouse. Now, even though I did this for the Victoria Dollhouse Farmhouse, you can do this for any dollhouse or any miniature project that you have for your Winter Wonderland. But we are going to be starting off with the templates already made. And once again, you need to watch part 8 of the Victoria Dollhouse Farmhouse that I did to see how I got the templates. Alright, so this is one of the templates, and all we're going to do is we're going to use styrofoam, and I just kind of mushed this styrofoam up. You can take any styrofoam that comes in like boxes and just break this up and get, you know, some styrofoam that's already crunched up like this. You don't need to buy, you know, the fake snow or anything like that. Just take some styrofoam and crush it up so that you have this. All we're going to do is we're going to put glue on this whole thing, and then we are going to place the styrofoam on top. All right, y'all, so that last video, in this video, I realized that I put my camera on wrong because I do have a new stick for my camera, and then I didn't realize that my camera was not on the right way, so the angle looks off. But after this section, I'm going to put my camera the right way so that, you know, it's easier to watch. But basically all I'm doing is I'm putting the Eileen's tacky glue on the template, and then I'm going to spread that Eileen's tacky glue with a stick all over the template. I do like to use the Eileen's tacky glue, and I have a lot, so that's the glue we're using. Use whatever glue it is desired for you, okay? Use whatever you want to do. I'm using that, and then I'm spreading the glue. And then after I'm done spreading the glue all over the template, I am taking the styrofoam and I'm putting that all over the template as well. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and press that styrofoam onto the template. So basically anything that has glue on the template, any place that has that glue, the styrofoam is going to stick to, okay? So we're just pressing the styrofoam on there. So that way, when I do switch it to the side, I'm able to get all that excess styrofoam off of the template. And then I'm going to put some more styrofoam on there in spots where the glue is at and press down as well in those areas. Now, this is just the first coat of styrofoam. All right, back with the right angle. So this is what the template is looking like after that first coat. What we're going to do is we're going to set this to the side and let this dry. Now, when we come back in with the second coat, we also are going to come in with some fluorescent specks. I'm going to show you that when we come back for the second coat. But all we're going to do is set this to the side because we are not completely done, because there are some areas that need some more styrofoam. And of course, there are going to be some areas that is going to have that specks. Not the whole thing. I don't want the whole thing sparkly. I just want certain, just every now and then, you know, your eye is going to catch, you know, a little sparkle here and there. So we're going to go ahead and set this to the side. All right, so once that has been dried, you're just going to go back in with your glue and fill in the spots that doesn't have any of the styrofoam. And then you're also going to want to go in like some of these areas here and kind of put in some more glue. And before you go back in with the styrofoam, what you're going to do is you're going to take your, let's see what they're calling this. Now, I've had this already for a while, and it looks like it's called Snowflakes Fluorescent Nay. So you can probably just get this at Walmart or Hobby Lobby. Any crafting store may have something that looks like that. So what you're going to do with that is you're just going to go and sprinkle that all around. Once again, we don't want the whole thing to be sparkly. We just want some areas to be sparkly. And then you're just going to, just like what you would do with the styrofoam, you're just going to turn that to the side and drop all of that into the styrofoam. Then you're going to go back with your styrofoam and fill in those areas that need more styrofoam as well. So anything that doesn't have the fluorescent, if that's not sticking, if the fluorescent isn't sticking, then the styrofoam definitely is going to go ahead and stick to the other areas that you put the glue on. All right, so you may see some areas that need some more glue, and this bottle of glue is about done, but I still have some more glue. I have 3 smaller bottles. So you may see some areas that need some more styrofoam, so you're just going to use the glue, put that glue in those areas, and then put some more styrofoam in those areas as well. Now at this time, the styrofoam has some sparkles in it because once again, we did dump some fluorescent into the styrofoam. So if you're grabbing the way bottom of the styrofoam, then you're going to get some of those fluorescent pieces in there, which is the pieces that you're going to want to use when you go back over it. So we probably are done with just those 2 coats, but if you need a 3rd coat or need some other areas that need some more of those styrofoam or some more of the fluorescent specks, then you are going to wait till the 2nd coat dries before you add that 3rd coat. All right, so this is what it's looking like after that 2nd coat of styrofoam plus the fluorescent specks. Now this is going to probably be it for me. I don't think I would need a 3rd coat of the styrofoam and the specks. And as you can see, your eye is going to catch those specks here and there. It's not fully sparkly, which is what we want. We don't want it to be fully sparkly. We want it to be more realistic than not. So in regular snow, your eye is going to catch a sparkle here and there, and that is what we have here. So now I'm going to show you how to do the Winter Wonderland bushes. And once again, if you have not watched my personalization video of how to do exterior plants for your miniature projects, I highly suggest you watch that as well so that you can see how I start to make these Winter Wonderland bushes. So I was able to use 1 pack of these to do 3 of the bushes, and then I had 2 of these left over, 2 of the little branches that come in here. I had 2 of those left over after doing 3 bushes. So depending on how many bushes you do is going to depend on how many of these bags that you need. Of course, everything that I'm using is going to be placed in the description box. I'm going to title it Dollhouse Accessories. Yeah, we're going to put it in the Dollhouse Accessories Amazon cart. All right, so what you're going to do first is, of course, you got the bottom cut off, but then you're going to start cutting the top off. Now, when we did our regular rose bushes, this is the part we didn't have to do because, of course, we did roses on those bushes, and now we are going to the bare minimum. After the roses are off and winter has came with the snow, you're left with branches from the rose bushes. So you are going to use one of the ones that you have already done, and then you're just going to kind of figure out how big you're going to want that to be. And I'm going to want to cut it about right here, because that is about how much of my other ones that I have cut off. And once again, I've already done 3. So I'm just going to use a knife and cut around just like that to get the top of this foam off. And also with this foam, you can also use it for your extra foam as well. Just kind of crumble that up. So that's all we're gonna do is cut the top off. So this bag has several different sizes of the branches. And then for the next thing that we are going to do in the video, it also comes with like basically what's going to be the leaves of the trees. But it also has a few packs of these as well. Once again, we are going to do this for the next project that we are going to do in this video. So you're going to set those to the side. And once again, I have 2 bags of these branches. And what we're basically going to use is like the medium, I guess you can call it the large and medium size branches. And for each bush, I've used 7 at the top. And then when we go to the sides, it depends on where your bush is going to be at. So due to the fact that these are going to be on the front of the house, the back of the bush is going to be basically on the front of the house. So you do not need to go around the whole perimeter of the bush with the branches, because you're not going to see those branches in the back anyways. Of course, I need 5 bushes, and I've only done 3 so far. So we got 2 sitting here. And once again, we're going to use I'm going to call it the large / medium size branches to go around the circle first. And then I'll show you how to go around the bush with the smaller size branches. And I don't put all of like the large ones on it. I kind of go with the large and the medium size ones. I don't put like all the large ones on it. I kind of just go with the large and the medium. And then I just kind of put this glue just kind of like in and out of the branches. Not everywhere on the branch, but kind of like just here and there, just like what I'm doing now. And then what I'm going to do is, with all that glue on there, I'm just going to kind of go all the way around with the foam. Make sure you do have some of that glue on the inside as well, not just the outside, but like in the inside here. Now you are going to see some sparkles from the specks that I have previously used. But after this dries, we are going to go back and do the branches on the front. And then that is when we are also going to go ahead and do the specks. We're not going to do that now. Once again, you are going to see some because we just previously used it for the front yard template. So you're going to see those in here as well. But that is basically how we get the top. Then we're going to let this dry before we do the outside. And I'm going to explain what we're going to do on the outside, because we're not going to do, like I said, we're not going to do all the way around. We're just going to do some. So it depends on where it's at is how many branches you're going to use for the sides. So I'm going to go ahead and do this one, and then we're going to wait for those to dry. All right, so once it's all dry, what you're going to do is you're going to basically do what you did with the branches, only you're just going to do this on some of the styrofoam and also on some of the branches. So you're just going to put some glue. You're just going to dab it. Now, you're not going to do as much as you did with the styrofoam, but you are going to just dab it in certain areas. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take your specks, your fluorescent specks. Now the way I did it was I took a plastic bag and I put some of the specks in there. And then all I did was I just took this and put it inside of the plastic bags with all the specks in there and kind of just shook this up just like so. Now, of course, some of that glue is getting on the bag, which is fine, but that is kind of what I did to get those fluorescent specks in there like so. And then you can put some on the inside as well, like that doesn't have any, some in the inside. And then you can also just take some of the specks and kind of sprinkle wherever you put the glue at. Whichever is easiest for you without getting it all over the place. Alright, and then that is how you get the specks onto the bushes. Alright, and then the same thing with this one. We don't want a big old glitter balls, but we just want to kind of do it the same way that we did with the styrofoam, but just not as much as the styrofoam. Because once again, we don't want a glitter ball. Then we're just going to put it in the bag. Actually, I'm going to do this the other way. I'm going to sprinkle the fluorescence on there. And that seems to be making a bigger mess than with the bag. Yeah, we're just going to go ahead and dump this in here. Just doing it this way, you're going to get some glue on in the inside of the bag, but it seems like that makes the less of the mess. Alright, and then there it is. So the bag method is the easiest way for me to do it, which is why I don't put the branches on the outside, because if you did, you would not be able to put it in a regular sandwich baggie to shake it up. So now we can go ahead and put the branches on the side. Alright, so now it's easy for me to explain. Depending on where your bush is going to depend on how many branches you need. For instance, this does not have any branches on the back because that is where it sits on the house. So you don't need to put branches all the way around. So with these branches, you're going to do it the same way. Put the glue on the bottom and just stick them in the styrofoam. So with the bigger branches, all you're going to do is you can cut right there at the bottom there and get a branch like this, and just once again kind of put some glue on the bottom and stick it in there. Now you can also use these branches without cutting them as well, because they're tiny enough to just use them as it is and just glue and stick. So you can cut them, you don't have to cut them, and then some are already tiny enough to where you can just stick those on. So what I do like to do is I like to go ahead and put the bush on where it's going to be at. That way I know exactly where I need to put the branches. So I'm just going to put it like here. And so I just need to put some more all the way around to about here. And then actually, I am just going to leave this up here and put the branches on while it's sitting in place. That way, I know exactly where to put some branches and where not to. So now we're just going to go ahead and do this one the same way. Keep that up there and then just go ahead and put the branches on while it's already up there. I think that's going to be the easiest way. I do put some styrofoam in like around this as well, just to give it more of that wintry look. You can go ahead and add styrofoam around. And then I think we're gonna need one more for the side. So this is going to be kind of like right here, so we can put some back here. And one more actually. I got one more little one here that we're going to put on. We can go over here. All right, now what you're gonna do is you're gonna do the same thing that you did with the top branches, and you're going to dab some glue all around the branches and then put some styrofoam on those branches. So the trick here is that now that you have all the fluorescent specks in the styrofoam, you don't really have to go back when you do these branches. You don't really have to go back to put those specks on, because a lot of the specks is already in the styrofoam. So when you put your styrofoam on, the specks are also in the styrofoam that you're putting on. So as you can see, those specks are already was in the styrofoam, so you don't have to go back and put those in. All right, y'all, so boom, there is the front lawn in the bushes Winter Wonderland. All right, so what we're gonna make next are trees. Now, I actually went out to my yard and I cut down some branches and I gathered some sticks. Now, these are sticks. This whole thing is a branch, and then this is a twig. So twig, branch, stick, stick, branch, twig. Okay? All right, so yes, I had to give you guys that visual with the definition of what a stick is, what a branch is, and what a twig is, because people call twigs sticks and sticks branches and branches twigs, you know. They call them all the same thing. They are not all the same thing. Sticks are sticks, branches are branches, and twigs are twigs. And so I'm going to be using those phrases while I'm describing what I'm putting together. And as you can see here, I put a bunch of sticks together to make the base of basically the trunk of the tree. So I'm using sticks to put for the base of the tree, and then I also used a branch as well. So that is why I'm describing what I am calling a stick, a twig, and a branch, a branch. So we are going to make 2 trees today. We're going to make like the summer/spring tree and then also the Winter Wonderland tree. And then I'm just going to explain how to do a fall tree. So what you're going to do first is you're going to grab some sticks and you're just going to glue them together until you get like a nice full base like this. And I have 1, 2, 3, I have 4 sticks and I have 1 branch as well. And make sure that this part is flat. So you're going to get some sticks and glue them together. Obviously everybody's sticks is going to be different, so that part has already been done. Where you see the glue at, like here you can see where I put the glue at, and then here as well where you put the glue at. That package that we used for our bushes that had the branches in it, remember we did have 3 packages of foliage in there and that we put to the side. Now that foliage you can use to cover up those spots that has the glue there so that you don't see those glue spots. And actually this is going to be the foliage that we use to simulate and imitate the leaves of a tree. So basically just wanted to let you know that, you know, you will see the glue there, but it's going to be covered up at the end, so you don't have to worry about seeing the glue on your tree. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and use our branches and twigs to make extra branches and twigs so that we have some area for the foliage to hang on to. So we're just going to grab some of these and just start gluing them just anywhere. There's not a specific way of how you're just going to glue them on and things like that. You're just going to use one that has like a lot of the little twigs here, because this is what the foliage is going to be hanging on to. So use one like that and just kind of glue those on. Like I said, there's not a specific way, but we're just going to start gluing those on. All right, so something to keep in mind is how tall are you going to want your tree? Now, me, I wanted a big tree in the yard. So when you look outside, if you have trees and houses in your neighborhood, if you look outside, some of the trees are actually taller than houses, and some are about the same height. So for me, I made it at the highest point of this house, which is the chimney, and I pretty much cut it to where, where the highest point of this house is. Because like I said, I want a big tree. So if you don't want a big tree, then you don't have to, you know, obviously do as much as I'm going to be doing. But make sure you know how high you want your tree. All right, y'all. So boom, our trees are done. Well, at least like the bones of the trees are done. So what we have is our Winter Wonderland tree. And then we're going to have our summer/spring tree that we're going to also make. Now, the difference is with your Winter Wonderland tree, you do not need as many branches, twigs, or sticks as you do with the summer/spring tree, because everyone knows if you have winter in the part of the world where you live at, you know in the winter, the twigs, the sticks, the branches, everything falls off the tree and it looks bare. It's a bare tree. So you don't need as many of the branches, sticks, or twigs that you would need on the summer/spring tree, because once again, we're building a tree that's gonna have a lot of foliage on it, right? So you don't need as much of that on this tree as you do on this tree. So in the Winter Wonderland tree, you will notice that there are 5 sticks stuck together, and then there's actually a branch right in the middle of that. And then in this summer/spring tree, there are branches branching off everywhere. But in the Winter Wonderland tree, we took the branches off and we just left some twigs there instead of having the branches branching off from in different directions. You will notice that the sticks in the Winter Wonderland tree go in one direction, while in the other tree, they're going all over the place. So the summer/spring tree is a tree you're going to want to imitate if you're doing a autumn tree as well. All you're going to do different with your autumn tree is change the color of the foliage to the fall colors of the leaves instead of just having green, which is what we're going to be doing today. We're just going to do green today because I don't have any other color of leaves to do a fall tree. So we're going to do our winter tree, and we're also going to do our summer/spring tree. We're going to start with the Winter Wonderland tree. Now it's best to cover up the glue spots with the thicker pieces of the styrofoam instead of the smaller pieces, because the thicker pieces is going to cover more volume. Plus it's thicker, and we are just gluing it on with the hot glue gun instead of using Eileen's tacky glue because it's going to take too long for that to dry, and then we got to do it's just going to take too long. So we're just going to use the hot glue to glue these on, to glue the styrofoam on into these spots where you see the glue. We're going to cover those glue spots up. All right, y'all, so boom. Here is the, I guess you can call it the tree trunk. After we covered up all that glue spots wherever we seen glue, we just put some styrofoam on there. Now we're moving on to the branches. So the branches is basically going to be the same, just like we did the bush branches where we put the Eileen's tacky glue and then we put the styrofoam in those areas. With these branches, you're going to put it like, you're going to want to make sure that you kind of put some on the top to make it seem like, you know, the snow has fallen down. It comes to the top first, and then you're going to kind of put some on the sides as well. So we're going to do that. Go ahead and take the smaller pieces of styrofoam and kind of accumulate it, you know, in the corners and things like that, as well as on top of the branches. All right, y'all, so boom, here is the tree. And once again, it is as tall as the Victoria Dollhouse farmhouse because we all know trees aren't smaller than houses. Some are towering, some are smaller than houses, but we wanted a big tree in this yard, so here it is. And then the base of it is just some a thick piece of styrofoam that I stuck it in, and then I just did it with the same styrofoam and the fluorescent specks as I did with the landscape. All right, and then this is the foam that I use, so it's about yay thick, thick enough for it to sustain the weight of the tree. So just get you some thick styrofoam. I use styrofoam because, of course, it's white and snow is white. So that's why I use this. And like I said, it's about yay thick. But I am going to try another type of base for the summer/spring tree. If y'all are thinking about putting Christmas lights with double-sided tape, do not, because this is what you're going to have to do with. I'm going to have to repaint that over because the tape ripped it right off. So there's that. All right, so we have went ahead and decorated for Christmas. So you see the cute little Christmas wreaths there. Now I do want to explain the snow on the flower boxes. So all I used was cotton balls, and I literally just tore up the cotton balls and just placed them on. It's basically like the same thing people use when they do spider webs for Halloween. It's the same stuff. You just put that over your flower boxes. You don't have to take your flower boxes off. You don't have to make new flower boxes. Just put some cotton over that, and it looks like the snowy window that you see here. So that is just cotton. So that is it for the Winter Wonderland / trees part 1. So we are going to do another part 2. So in part 2 is a little different because it's a summer / spring tree and also fall tree. So there's no snow in that one. So don't forget to watch part 2 if you want to see how I make those trees. So if you have liked what you see so far, go ahead and hit that like button. Go ahead and hit that subscribe. And don't forget to hit that bell so that you don't miss the next notification of when I post my next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.